Hey everyone, it's Friday. You're watching CBC News BC. I'm Vineet Rach. We're here in the Vancouver newsroom. Here are your top stories today. Well, CBC News has learned that BC NDP MLA Bowen Ma's constituency office was targeted with an explosive device today. Two sources who spoke to CBC News on background said legislative security sent out an email to MLAs and constituency assistants around 7:30 this morning. In a statement released by the NDP, Ma said she's thankful that no one was injured. She added that incidents like this can be quite frightening, and I appreciate the concern expressed by community members. Several NDP constituency offices have been closed as a result of this, and CBC News also spoke with Ma and her husband, who say that they're reeling from the incident and do not wish to comment. We will have more updates coming on this afternoon. And change is coming to the senior ranks at Interior Health. In a news release this morning, the authority says Susan Brown, its president and CEO, is stepping down. This comes months ahead of her expected retirement date, and Interior Health has faced criticism from doctors and others in the community following its decision to temporarily close the 10-bed pediatric unit at Kelowna General Hospital. It said the closure was necessary because of a shortage of available pediatricians. Okay, and in Surrey, police say a man was shot and killed last night. The homicide unit is now investigating. Police got reports of shots fired just after 7:30 in a residential area near 108th Avenue and 129th Street. When officers got on scene, they found a man outside a residence with life-threatening injuries. He died on scene. The Integrated Homicide Investigation Team is looking to speak with witnesses and gather surveillance footage. This is Surrey's fourth homicide of the year. Staying in Surrey, police say there are a growing number of reports of extortion and violence against members of the South Asian community. It's why the province is now providing $100,000 to BC Crime Stoppers for an extortion awareness campaign. So Surrey police say they are investigating 12 cases, but believe many more threats are not being reported to police, and there have been no arrests so far. One business owner told the Early Edition this morning that it is the right step, but a small one.
Whatever the extortion task force they created, SPS, I think they need more tools, because these days there's artificial technology is available. There's a lot of other high-tech stuff is available, because this is an international issue. It's not a local issue alone. So I think more resources is the only answer if they want to resolve this.
This new awareness campaign will run for 60 days, and it's being produced in English and Punjabi. And Vancouver International Airport is preparing for a busy summer travel season. The airport authority says between June 15th and September 2nd, it's expecting to welcome about 6.7 million passengers. And it says this weekend is going to be a real busy one.
That's evidenced by actually Monday being our busiest travel day for this weekend period. So from Friday to Tuesday, we're expecting about 400,000 travelers, about 85,000 travelers per day. And then Monday, the busiest day with nearly 88,000 travelers. So a lot of folks taking that Monday to round off the weekend.
The airport authority is reminding travelers to check their travel documents, stay informed on the status of your flight, and give yourself lots of time to get through security. And that's what we have for you so far. You're watching CBC News BC. Stay with us. BC Today is next, and we'll have more on what happened at BC MLA Bowen Ma's office.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. A number of big developing stories today. First, a security incident has closed Bowen Ma's constituency office for today. CBC has confirmed it was targeted with an explosive device. We'll get you the latest on that. And in a political jaw-dropper, Donald Trump posted on social media he is terminating all trade discussions with Canada. We'll discuss that. Plus, after 12:30, we're heading into Canada Day, and we'll celebrate by asking, what are your favorite travel destinations in Canada? That's with travel writer Robin Esrock. I'm Michelle Elliott. Welcome to BC Today. We start with developing news here in BC. NDP MLA and Minister of Infrastructure Bowen Ma's constituency office is closed today, and RCMP will be speaking to that incident in about an hour and a half from now. CBC's Leanne Yu is at the office in North Vancouver. Hi, Leanne. Can you tell us what we know so far?
Michelle, I'm on the corner of Chesterfield and Esplanade in front of Bowen Ma's office here. Right now, police have cordoned off pretty well the entire block. They're combing the scene. There's a glass door at the entrance that there's some damage been done to for the bottom of it, and police have placed evidence markers in front of the staircase. So far, police have said that the incident occurred early in the morning. CBC News spoke with some residents in the area who say the incident probably occurred around 2:30 a.m. So far, Bowen Ma has released a statement. She said incidents like this can be quite frightening. I appreciate the concern expressed by community members.
Now, she did release a statement, but I understand that that you saw her there with her husband this morning.
I did, yes. I ran into them at a cafe, and they looked safe but shaken. Her husband said they did not wish to comment at this time. They're just taking some time to process the incident as they are reeling from it.
And Leanne, can you tell us about what RCMP have planned? When are we going to hear more details from them?
Later on at 11:30, they will be releasing more details about the incident.
At 1:30,
but so
okay.
far, they're just here combing the scene.
What have we heard from the party, the BC NDP, or any other parties?
So an email was sent out to MLAs and the legislative constituency offices. They were told an explosive device was detonated and caused damage to the property, but fortunately no one was injured. I'm told that NDP offices across the province were advised to take caution and close if they felt like they needed to.
Leanne, thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle.
That's CBC reporter Leanne Yu live in North Vancouver. And yes, there will be a press conference held by the RCMP coming up at 1:30 this afternoon. As you've been hearing, the constituency office of North Vancouver MLA and Infrastructure Minister Bowen Ma has been targeted with an explosive device. RCMP holding a press conference in the next hour. For more on this, CBC Provincial Affairs reporter Katie DeRosa joins me now from Victoria. Hi, Katie. I understand you've been speaking with other MLAs, and what are you hearing from them?
Yeah, I talked to MLAs, both NDP and from the BC Conservatives. They all say they're concerned about what happened. They're sending their sympathy to Bowen Ma, and again, thankful that nobody was hurt. But they told me that there's been an increase in physical, incidents, or they're like both online threats and incidents in person at some of these constituency offices. I don't have numbers, for example, per se on that, but it's just. They say that there's like a heightened tension, and a lot of it is perhaps the online discourse that spills into in person. And again, the MLAs are not always at those offices. It's mostly staff. So it is really concerning when tensions politically spill out into these constituency offices. So the MLAs I talked to said that they're really concerned, and that's why some MLAs did choose to shut down their offices. It wasn't an order, but it was just like, if you feel that staff would be more comfortable doing so, then that's a choice. And several MLAs I talked to said the staff did take them up on that.
And I know you'll be listening to that press conference at 1:30 by the RCMP as well. But what are you hoping to be asking of the parties themselves, of the Premier and other provincial party leaders?
Well, certainly the Premier has immediate availability at 1 o'clock, talking about FIFA, but of course this issue is going to dominate that. So we'll be asking him if there's any additional security measures that need to be taken. Of course, I'm also asking that to the Sergeant at Arms as well, if there's any additional measures. And obviously the police will be providing more details on perhaps if they have a suspect, if there's any video evidence, or if they're looking for witnesses. But certainly I'm sure this will be putting MLAs on edge and just kind of figuring out if what the motive is here, if this was targeted at one party, one particular MLA, or if this was, what the motive behind that is. I think that's big. Still the outstanding question we have here.
Katie, thank you so much for joining us on this developing story.
Thanks,
That's
Michelle.
CBC Provincial Affairs reporter Katie DeRosa. And as we have been telling you, the constituency office of North Vancouver MLA Bowen Ma has been targeted with an explosive device. CBC News has confirmed that this morning that office has been cordoned off. It's at 221 Esplanade Avenue in North Vancouver. And there will be, the email says, an explosive device that detonated and caused damage is an email that was sent to MLAs and constituency assistants around 7:30 this morning. No one was hurt, and there was a statement sent out from Bowen Ma saying she's thankful nobody was hurt, but of course these are incidents that can leave people shaken. There will be a press conference from the RCMP coming up at 1:30, and we'll find out more details then and bring you up to speed on this story. This is BC Today. It's 12:13 now, and to other big news that broke this morning, U.S. President Donald Trump is scheduled to speak soon to media, and there will be questions about his social media post this morning in which he announced he was terminating trade talks with Canada. And he posted that it's due to a digital services tax on American technology companies. Now, this trade war with Donald Trump has been a major factor in the Canadian government pushing for Canada to become a, quote, energy superpower. Those are the words of Prime Minister Mark Carney. And this week, Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith says they are close to getting a private sector proponent for an oil pipeline to BC's North Coast. Lots of questions to BC Premier David Eby this week. He says he doesn't want to speculate on a possible pipeline, but he says he continues to support that federal oil tanker ban on the North Coast. We've been covering this for you this week, and some emails on that pipeline now that's being proposed by Alberta. Chris writes, I'm baffled by the fact that in one breath we're talking about the climate crisis, and in the next we're talking about more new pipelines. We know we must get away from oil and gas and move to eco-friendly sources of power. If we don't start thinking about the immediate future, we will not have a future. All Danielle Smith wants is to get re-elected. No more pipelines. Ron writes, I find it most unfortunate not to hear any discussion regarding where employment opportunities will be driven from in BC without LNG or oil. The exodus of young families from BC, along with their tax dollars, to energy-producing provinces has become epidemic. BC is becoming a retirement province. Hard to finance a province without tax-paying jobs remaining and or being driven in BC. Thanks so much for your emails. BC Today at cbc.ca. And as you have been hearing, U.S. President Donald Trump is pulling the United States out of trade negotiations with Canada. And this was according to a social media post he put on his social media platform just a short while ago. And in this post, Trump wrote, we have just been informed that Canada, a very difficult country to trade with, including the fact that they have charged our farmers as much as 400% tariffs for years on dairy products, has just announced that they are putting a digital services tax on our American technology companies, which is a direct and blatant attack on our country. They are obviously copying the European Union, which has done the same thing and is currently under discussion with us also. Based on this egregious tax, we are hereby terminating all discussions on trade with Canada effective immediately. We will let Canada know the tariff that they will be paying to do business with the United States of America within the next 7-day period. Thank you for your attention to this matter. That post from Donald Trump this morning. And this is certainly big breaking news across the country here in Canada. And joining me now for more on this is Jovian Radheshwar. He's a professor of international relations and American politics at Douglas College. Hi, Jovian. Thanks for being with us.
Hi, Michelle. Thanks for having me back.
Okay, I'll get your initial reaction first to this news. Trump saying this morning, terminating trade discussions with Canada.
It's certainly an attempt to twist arms. It's certainly an attempt to put an extreme timeline on the next week, where apparently there's going to be an announcement of a new tariff rate based on some of these grievances that he's listed in the post that you shared just a moment ago. He obviously refers directly to dairy and directly to the digital services tax. And those are two areas that have been, hinted at before as areas that Trump is going to try to expand U.S. economic power in Canada, and now we're seeing that begin. And of course, we also have Canada announcing a few days ago getting closer with the European Union, and we have also, of course, Mark Carney's successfully getting the bill C5 passed through the Parliament to fast track various economic and energy projects around the country, and proclaiming that this is how Canada can start to be more independent of the United States. And just a couple of days ago, he was on CNN saying that he thinks that Trump is not going to try to annex Canada anymore. So, of course, this is all, I think, an important context to keep in mind for trying to make sense of what Trump is trying to achieve now.
Well, trying to make sense is right. At the G7 just last week, there seemed to have been, quite cordial diplomatic relations between Mark Carney and Donald Trump. They held a press conference together, and Donald Trump acknowledged their different approaches, but it still seemed to be quite complimentary. How surprising is this news today?
It's a bit shocking. I'm not entirely personally surprised by it. I feel that the sovereignty debate is something that Trump has certainly never moved past. If we think about the also recent developments out in Alberta around possibly some levels of increased polling support, especially in rural areas in Alberta, for various forms of either separation or just independence or sovereignty in Alberta, we can see that there's an attempt to also drive a wedge into Canadian politics, because on the one hand, we have the dairy sector, which is quite powerful in Quebec, and Mark Carney's minority government really heavily depends on both liberal votes that got MPs in Quebec, and also the Bloc's willingness to give Carney time to govern with a minority, so sort of informally agreeing to not put forth a vote of no confidence. Alberta wants its own sovereignty as well, and is often invoking the Quebec model to say what it wants. And at the same time, we know that the C5 bill for energy projects is something that Quebec has objected to in terms of forcing pipelines onto Quebec. And we know Dave Eby has also said that he's not a fan of changing Bill C-69 and allowing for pipelines to be built over the consent of the provinces. He's just said so just a few days ago. Mm-hmm. So this sets up a situation where Trump can really break Canada's fragile coalition governing order and possibly encourage separatist sentiment in Alberta.
That's an interesting way to look at it in terms of what impact might have on the unity among the provinces, which they say they're really working towards in light of the trade war with the United States. Let's put out the numbers and get people's reaction to this. Okay, so big breaking news just this morning. Donald Trump posted on his social media platform, Truth Social, that he would be terminating all discussions on trade with Canada effective immediately. Okay, and so as you can imagine, lots of reaction pouring in on that across the country, and especially in Ottawa. Love to hear from you. What is your reaction to this announcement from Donald Trump? How should Canada respond to the U.S. president ceasing trade discussions on social media today with Canada? 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. You can also email BC Today on cbc.ca. And that's BC Today at cbc.ca. My guess is political scientist Jovian Radheshwar. And perhaps let's go through some of the points that he makes in that post, that are a source of discontent for the United States, for Donald Trump. One is the dairy industry here in Canada that operates under a supply management regime. He says that is charging U.S. farmers as much as 400% tariffs, and that has been going on for years. What is the impact of that supply management system in Canada on Americans?
Oh, well, largely it's not impacting Americans insofar as American consumers, the vast majority of Americans. It does impact dairy businesses that have excess byproduct of dairy production to offload, because American dairy businesses are such large scale businesses compared to Canadian businesses just because of the size of the countries. They have a large amount of, it's kind of minutia, but it's actually skim milk protein powder is one of the byproducts of large scale dairy production, and they want to sell that over here. Now, they also want to sell milk and other things like that too, but as of 2017, under the renegotiated NAFTA, known as, of course, CUSMA, that particular agreement did open up a small percentage, something like about 5.5% of Canada's dairy sector to American dairy. And the rest of it, of course, remains supply managed. So your, cheeses, your yogurts, your milks, all of that is in Canada bought from Canadian farms. But you'll increasingly see yogurts and whey protein powder and other products that involve protein powder. It won't say Canadian dairy on it. It'll say made from organic products or composed of Canadian dairy, but not 100% Canadian dairy. And that's because there was this gap opened up in the regulations as of 2017. So since then, of course, they've gotten used to selling us this stuff, and now they want to sell us more of it. And of course, sell us other dairy products as well.
Pardon me, on dairy, we have an email from Gordon who writes, as Trump is now abruptly terminating all trade talks with Canada, Parliament's recent passing of the bloc's supply management bill, C-202, requires immediate scrutiny. The bill legislates eggs, poultry, dairy are henceforth protected from foreign competition. Not only is this blatantly unfair to other agricultural sectors, e.g. in the West, but it significantly binds the hands of our trade negotiators. We've already been challenged over dairy under the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and recall the trade rift with the UK walking away over dairy, a mere ripple compared to the expected trade tsunami over dairy when CUSMA is renegotiated by 2026. Trump's announcement magnifies the folly of this bill. Okay, Gordon, thank you so much for your email. BC Today at cbc.ca, asking our audience, what is your reaction to, an abrupt announcement on social media today by Donald Trump announcing that he is hereby terminating all discussions on trade with Canada effective immediately. You can call us now, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. Clayton is calling us from Comox. Hi, Clayton.
Well, hello. Thank you very much. Nice to be top of the list here. And, first of all, I would like to compliment you on the fact that I can listen to the radio broadcast live while I'm on hold. I remember the bad old days when people would call in and there'd be a lot of turmoil because you could hear the radio on the background in delay, and that was a bad thing.
Okay.
But anyway, I would just briefly like to express my puzzlement at the current situation. If this is Donald Trump's latest trigger, this issue of Canadian charge on digital services from the States, why don't the digital services just quietly take Trump aside and tell him that, yes, they will pay this Canadian surcharge, they will add the amount that they charge Canadian customers for this service, Canadians will accept it because what else are we going to do? And everything is good. Trump can go and find some other issue. Canadians can pay the surcharge that's going to our government, and everybody can live happily ever after. That's about all that's my thought.
Okay, Clayton, thank you very much. I guess he's talking there, Jovian, about kind of going around Donald Trump in a way, right? Those kind of backroom negotiations. What do you make of the point that he's making there?
Well, the digital services tax is 3% on revenue earned from their operations in Canadian markets. And on the one hand, the caller has a fantastic peacemaking sensibility, a cooperative sensibility, which I think is wonderful. I applaud it and I would support it in some ways, except it also would concede essentially that political power has the ability to dictate these kinds of outcomes, right? Because if the Canadian consumer then has to pay an additional 3% or whatever it would be that would cover the exact cost of the tax, that's something that would mean essentially that, these companies have the power to do that. And the cost is put onto us. So actually that would be a successful political sort of railroading of Canada and the Canadian consumer. And that gets back to the sort of, I think the nuts and bolts of these kinds of fights is that they are about economics and about money and about dollars and cents, but they're also about politics and about who has the power to make a decision over what piece of land, piece of market, piece of real estate. And indeed, if we are, forced to pay an extra 3% in addition to the companies paying the tax, then that means essentially that we've lost in this particular negotiation. So that's part of the issue there for why I don't think that Canada would accept that. But I also think that the companies wouldn't want to set that precedent. They would want to set the precedent of not being taxed at all, because that allows them to operate in any jurisdiction without then having to rely on the U.S. government or any other government to be in the good graces of those kinds of governments.
Priscilla wrote us on TikTok. Thanks for joining us on our TikTok Live. All trade talks terminated, so Taco is taking his ball and not talking to us to fix trade. And Taco, the acronym there, I think that was coined by investors in the United States, calling it Trump always chickens out, I think, in terms of, I guess, starting with a really loud volley and perhaps backing down from that. That was where that term came from. Priscilla, thank you very much. Orville is our next caller now in Vancouver. Hi, Orville.
Hi, excuse me. Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for chance to give my comments. I'd first like to say that Trump is, of course, up to his usual kids' playground tactic, bullying, and in the meantime, he's, of course, trying to get some accolades from the digital giants, because during campaign, he wasn't getting much of support from them. And in the meantime, I like to also say that that's fine for him to say, he doesn't want our $90 billion export, or in this case, imports. Let him try to replace that for his, 400 or 500 or was it 700? However, billion people that they have over there. So let them try to replace that. And one final comment I want to add in this is that for his we shouldn't pay him anything. He should be paying us for rent, because he would need Canada for the infrastructure of his so-called missile defense Golden Dome.
Okay, Orville, thank you very much. I'm sorry you were cutting out there a little bit toward the end. Steve is our final caller now, who is on his way to Main Island. Hi, Steve.
Hi, sorry to tell you I'm on my way to Maine. It's going to be peaceful and quiet, and I'm going to turn off the radio. Listen,
well, thanks for joining us.
I think Trump has a very special story, the way he's been raised and his understanding and his entire approach to.
Okay, I think
we've got to hunker down. Buckle up and hit them with retaliatory tariffs and just get ready for the hard times that are going to come. But I hate the feeling that every time he makes an announcement, us Canadians are having to scramble and scurry around like little mice. Something about that just really annoys me. In our household, we have whacked all the American products that we can and are not taking trips. Like, we're doing everything at our level, and it's not comfortable, but we're prepared to do it because it's time for us to sort of get back on our own feet and be a little bit less reliant, particularly with a nut bar.
Thank you so much for the call. I know you say you're on your way and you're going to turn the radio off, but you might want to join us for our next segment in a few minutes, which is about traveling within Canada. So do join us for that too. Thanks so much for the call. Jovian, I'm watching very closely on social media to see if there are any statements from the Prime Minister. Of course, we're waiting for any kind of reaction or response from Canadian politicians. What are you watching for?
Well, certainly Carney's in a difficult spot. A couple of days ago, as I mentioned earlier, he was on CNN being interviewed. I believe it was by Christiane Amanpour.
Right.
And during that interview, he mentioned that he thinks that Trump has given up the 51st state vision that he had, this horrible, terrible idea. And that that he has a good relationship with Trump now. So now Carney's in a very tough spot. Some of the dynamics we talked about earlier around his provincial coalitions, the Alberta, Quebec, BC dynamic, and the way that the Liberals have a very, very, thin governing coalition, a small, just shy of a majority government. So Carney's in a very difficult spot, and I'm really curious to see what he'll do to strike back against this. I think he'll have to be strong. It's his strong play to be strong. It seems to get him more support from the public, so I'd expect something like that. But the nuance he'll have to use to approach that will be a challenge, because as we've seen recently, other European leaders have been both challenging Trump, but also diplomatically trying to cajole him and satisfy him. And I expect the same from Carney.
Jovian, always a pleasure to chat with you. Thanks so much for taking our call and being available on such short notice.
Thank you, Michelle.
Jovian Radheshwar is a professor of international relations and American politics at Douglas College. A post on TikTok from Dark Angel who writes, "What about all the power and water we export to the USA?" So that goes back to our earlier caller's point about what Canadians export to the U.S. as well. Thanks so much for that. Thanks for joining us here on BC Today. We are live on TikTok, on YouTube, on CBC Radio and CBC Television. And coming up in our next half hour, well, if you are feeling very elbows up right now, you may want to talk about traveling around Canada. Travel writer Robin Esrock will be my guest as we ask for your favorite travel destinations around the country. That's coming up after this CBC News Update with Stephanie Mercier.
Good afternoon. In the news, CBC News has learned an explosive device was detonated at the office of a BC cabinet minister. It happened early this morning at the constituency office of Bowen Ma in North Vancouver. The explosion caused property damage, but no one was injured. Many provincial NDP constituency offices have been closed as a result. Ma issued a statement thanking police for their response. She says she can't say more while the investigation is underway. U.S. President Donald Trump says his administration is terminating all discussions on trade with Canada effective immediately. In a social media post, he says this is because of the digital services tax on American tech companies. It goes into force June 30th. Trump calls it a blatant attack on the U.S. and is threatening to announce new tariffs on Canadian imports. And the CEO of Interior Health is stepping aside sooner than expected amid controversy over the temporary closure of the pediatric ward at Kelowna General Hospital. CEO Susan Brown had previously announced plans to retire, but a news release today confirms she will be leaving in advance of that. Interior Health also says it has hired 4 new physicians to help staff the ward in Kelowna. And that is the CBC News from Vancouver. Looking now at the BC weather. For the North Coast, rainy, a high of 13, 14 inland. For the Peace region, a mix of sun and cloud with a chance of showers, up to 22. For the central interior, clouds and showers and the risk of a thunderstorm, a high of 18. For the southeast, mainly cloudy, the risk of a thunderstorm this afternoon, up to 23. For the southern interior, clouds and showers, then a mix of sun and cloud, up to 22. And for the south coast, a chance of showers and a high of 18 degrees. And now back to BC Today with host Michelle Elliott.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. That is Stephanie Mercier from the CBC Vancouver newsroom. Thanks for being with us here on BC Today on CBC Radio and CBC TV and live streaming as well. I'm Michelle Elliott. And of course, so much breaking news today. You'll hear lots more on the top stories on the afternoon shows on CBC Radio in your region. And for listeners to On the Coast in Metro Vancouver, here's what's coming up.
Hi, Michelle. It's Amy Bell sitting in once again for Gloria Makarenko here on the coast. Here's what's coming up on our show today. Pipelines have been big news all week, and so Healthsec Nation Chief Marilyn Slett will be with us to respond to Alberta Premier Daniel Smith's renewed calls for a new oil pipeline through BC. And have you ever heard of the summer slump or the summer slide? School might be out for the summer, but we're going to look at some sneaky ways to get your kids doing math through the next couple of months so they'll be ready to get back into it when school starts in September. On the Coast is on at 3 o'clock. I hope you can tune in.
Will do, Amy. Thanks so much. That is Amy Bell hosting On the Coast, sitting in for Gloria Makarenko right now. You can hear her this afternoon on CBC Radio 1, or you can use the CBC News app. Welcome back. You're with BC Today. I'm Michelle Elliott. Thanks so much for being with us. Well, we are just hours away from the first long weekend of the summer. And perhaps you're traveling somewhere. We know that travel to the United States has become less common, perhaps amid the trade war. We want to hear from you now. Where is your favorite travel destination within Canada? And what are you suggesting? Where are you heading off to? You can give us a call, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can also hit pound 690 on your cell phone. By email, we're at bctoday@cbc.ca. And if you are joining us on our TikTok Live, feel free to leave your favorite Canadian travel destination on there. Joining me now is travel writer Robin Esrock. Now, he's author of The Great Canadian Bucket List, among so many others. He happens to be joining us on a bike trip right now. Is that right, Robin?
That's right. That's right. It's the Great Canadian Canada Day long weekend road trip.
With a long title. And where are you right now?
Right now, I pulled off the side of the road in Squamish, and we're going to Lillooet tonight, then Revelstoke and Nelson and Osoyoos, and back to Vancouver.
Wow. How long is that all going to take you?
4 days of riding.
Wonderful.
And to me, this is like some of the most incredible roads anywhere, not just in Canada, but in the world. So really looking forward to it.
What makes it so incredible?
It's first of all, the terrain is quite diverse. Right now I'm on the Sea to Sky Highway, and then it's going to get hotter and drier in the Fraser Canyon. Yeah. The landscape gets more arid, going into the Okanagan, back into the mountains. So you see quite a diversity of terrain. The roads are in great shape, not a ton of crazy amount of traffic to make it dangerous. I mean, a large group. We're popping into these little communities along the way and towns, and the food is great. There's a vibe.
Absolutely.
I love it.
I mean, I agree with you completely on the terrain. You can't beat that view from the sea to sky. The change in the landscape, the winding roads as you head into the interior, for sure. I know I've stopped by for honey, of all things, over around Merritt. We actually have a question here for you from Jeff, who's asking about photography. And Jeff asks, I love using portrait mode on my iPhone, but would you suggest another setting for travel? And he says he loves your work.
Oh, thank you. Portrait mode is this little secret when you're taking pictures of people that many people don't realize. If somebody gives you a phone and says, can you take a picture of my family with this in the backdrop, slap on their portrait mode if they're using an iPhone, and they're going to look at you and go, wow, how did you do that? When you're taking photos, I always think it's about what you're taking a picture of as opposed to the technique. You don't have to be a brilliant photographer, know your f-stops and your exposure. You just really have to be looking at something special, try to get it in the frame. frame and capture that moment. But also remember to live in the moment. That's important too.
That's so true. So sometimes, I don't know, sometimes it's that dilemma between do I stop to take the photo or just watch this moment and be in it? For yourself, Robin, I know you've just talked about the roads and the terrain around BC being some of the best in the world, but where are your own favorite destinations around Canada?
Canada is so diverse, and every province is almost like a different country. I've spent about 12 years now traveling to every province and territory, looking for unique experiences you can't do anywhere else. So every province that I visit has, well, not just 5 or 6 dozens of incredible things to do. What really attracted me, when I think about my top 3, the energy that I felt up in Haida Gwaii was just amazing. They call it the Galapagos of the North. And I've been to the Galapagos and I thought, yeah, that's about right. But the Galapagos doesn't have the Haida people, doesn't have the art and the culture and the indigenous experiences there. The East Coast Trail, Newfoundland, is not like the West Coast Trail. It's very different. It's a series of day hikes through communities along the Avalon Peninsula, seeing whales breaching off the coast. Gorgeous, gorgeous landscape, and just a wonderful way to discover the rock, the island of Newfoundland.
Oh, I can't imagine watching a whale breaching off the coast. That is a moment where you say, I'm just going to enjoy this moment and not bother pulling out my phone or my camera.
Absolutely.
Let's take a call now. My guest is the renowned travel writer Robin Esrock, author of The Great Canadian Bucket List and so many others, asking you what are your favorite travel destinations in Canada. And if you're heading somewhere for this Canada Day long weekend, maybe you've taken Monday off as well, love to hear from you where you're heading. 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, or just hit pound 690 on your phone. By email, we're at bctoday@cbc.ca, and on TikTok, we're live as well, so do leave your comment there. We have an email from Heather who writes, we are off on the Uchuk delivery boat off Vancouver Island last week at the Incommip Winery. Oh, fantastic in Osoyoos, as it was great. In the past, we really enjoyed a trip to the Hazelton area. Just beautiful. Heather, thank you very much. Have a wonderful trip heading off to Vancouver Island there. And let's take a call from Janet in North Delta. Hi, Janet.
Hi. I would like to tell you about my friend that came to visit Canada from Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
And we took him to the prairies in Alberta and Saskatchewan, southern Alberta and Saskatchewan. And he was so amazed how beautiful. He had never seen a prairie.
The sky?
And he kept saying, yes. And he kept saying, look at the sky, look at the sky.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
You know, until you see it through somebody else's eyes, you don't realize the beauty we're in.
Wow. And your friend, Janet, from Switzerland, what do you think was the impression he left with about Canada?
Well, he knows British Columbia very well, you know, because we've showed him a lot, and he loves it here. And he actually became a Canadian citizen in the past. He moved back to Switzerland for work, but he's so proud to travel with a Canadian passport.
Janet, thank you very much. That is one of my favorite things, is to show people from outside the country around. And then you start just putting your itinerary together very quickly, and it's like, oh my gosh, so many places I want to take you to. Robin, first let's talk about the prairies there and just the awe that those skies can leave people with.
Yeah, the skies are so big you can drown in them.
Yeah.
You know, and whether that's just driving through the prairies, which has its own special charm, and the people are so lovely. And then there's like, you know, unique experiences like Little Manitou Lake. Canada's got its own Dead Sea. It's a saltwater lake. You can also float on your back effortlessly. You can cover yourself in mineral-rich mud. That's north of Saskatoon. You know, going to the big muddy Badlands in Saskatchewan. It's steeped in history with outlaws where they used to steal cattle and horses and store them in these caves. And It's like great stuff, and totally underrated. We're an underrated country with underrated provinces and underrated experiences. And I always tell people, when you go into somewhere like Saskatchewan or Manitoba, your expectations are kind of low. You're not expecting something that's world class because you don't ever hear it in that context, and then you're blown away.
Yeah.
So we're a country that tends to under-promise and over-deliver.
It may be changing, at least for this summer. I'm getting some news and numbers from YVR saying they're expecting their busiest summer yet. So, that may be something people will do over the summers. Head over and watch those prairie skies. Taking your calls, your favorite Canadian destinations as we inch our way toward Canada Day. 1-800-825-5950. 604-669-3733. You can also hit pound 690 on your cell phone. Our email, bctoday@cbc.ca. And on TikTok, West Coast for Life. Wow, West Coast for Life. Posted, how about Niagara Falls? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Fantastic place. And I think the thing about Niagara Falls that the impression I was left with, Robin, is it is just majestic to see, but also just a little, the town around it is just so charming and lovely as well.
Yeah, I think we underestimate just how big and beautiful and spectacular the falls are.
Yeah.
Hence all, the industry that's been built up around it. And, it's got a kind of, it's kind of cheesy, so lots of tourists go. And it's like, yeah, because when you see the falls, or, if you get on the boat and go right into the midst of it, it's a global bucket list experience.
Yes.
It's one of the greatest waterfalls, and the experience of the power of it. And I don't begrudge anybody for wanting to go anywhere. It's all about what you're interested in. If Niagara Falls, if you've always wanted to see it, do it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Put on that big plastic raincoat and get wet from the mist. Thanks for that post on TikTok. Let's go to the phones now. Linda is on the line in Nelson. The beautiful Kootenays. Hello, Linda.
Yes, the beautiful Kootenays indeed. One of our favorite spots, which we go every weekend, through Castlegar, up through to Nelson, all the way up to Caslow, split through there to New Denver, and then up through Nakusp, and then back through the monasteries through Vernon. You go through 3 different lakes. You go through at least 2-3 different hot springs. Like, it is gorgeous. Gorgeous. My personal favorite place, I would have to say I've been to the Maritimes once. We went to Joggins Beach. We saw the potholes. Halifax, ate lobster, Shediac Beach. I mean, beautiful. I would love to do that trip again. But one note that I would like to say from the previous program that you had, I think it would be a marvelous idea, short notice, but if we could get a couple of full insurge Mounties at every border and show our solidarity to the U.S., because we're never going to make Donald Trump happy, because Donald Trump isn't happy. So that's all I got. Thank you. Have a wonderful Canada Day weekend.
And you as well, Linda. Thank you very much, taking us through the Kootenays into the southern interior and then to the Maritimes. Wonderful. Thanks for the call from Nelson. Tracy is next in Penticton now. Hi, Tracy. What are your favorite holiday destinations and travel destinations in Canada?
Hi, can you hear me?
Sure can. Go ahead.
I'd say probably one of the best trips I ever took was when my kids were really small and I'm a single mom. I was like, I do not want to drive for 12 hours with kids strapped in car seats. So I took a trip on Via Rail. We got on in Kamloops and we went up to Jasper, and it was incredible. By far the best way to travel is by train, and it was like more affordable than I thought it would be. And I just saw an article that Via Rail has like a thing on this summer where kids under 17 can travel for free with an adult. And if you haven't been on a train trip, it's highly recommended.
Oh, wonderful. And Tracy, you're going to go on another train trip?
I would love to. It's, like I said, by far, it's my favorite way to travel. So I remember as a kid, too, going to the prairies from Kamloops and back and that sort of thing. So I highly recommend that. And of course, Jasper.
Oh my goodness, yes, and you can't beat not driving. I take your point on that very much. I'm taking Via Rail from Ottawa to Montreal, in fact, next week. Rail travel, just a wonderful way to go. The views are amazing. Cody is next in Cranbrook. Hi, Cody.
Hello, how are you doing?
I am fine. What's your favorite travel destination in the country?
Well, it has to be the Choco area around Williams Lake. I was fortunate enough to spend 3 seasons up there doing fly fish guiding on the Choco River and in Choco Lake, and it is unbelievable. Like it's when you come down the hill above the farm, sorry. And you're staring into this aqua marine valley. The lake is just incredibly blue. And if you're a fisherman, you're catching 40, 50 fish a day. They're all catch and release, of course.
Yeah.
And the grizzly bears, there was maybe 30, 40 bears we'd see a day.
Oh my goodness.
With the cubs, and the bears are not an issue because there's so much fish abundant for them that they don't really have any interest in us. And it's just the most amazing place. The natives, the First Nations people of the Maya,
Indigenous people, yeah.
Choco, they're so friendly and so funny and welcoming. It's just an amazing place. It's the only place that I've ever been in my life where you can do a 360-degree turn and not see a single trace of man.
Right.
There are no power lines. There are no airplanes. There's nothing. It's just nothing but nature, and it's the most majestic place in the world. And
wow, Cody.
I hope to get back there someday. So
you've described it. I mean, I think I was rapt by your description of this valley and this lake, and I can see you nodding and smiling along there, Robin.
Yeah, this is why Canada is so popular with international travelers, especially from Europe.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't have this vast abundance of wilderness that we have. You can't drive for hours and not see another car or come across towns and villages. We've just got so much space, especially if you go up north, which I wish every Canadian could have the opportunity to go up to the north, to the territories, just to see how beautiful and vast and empty the Arctic is, which really defines a lot of our national identity. When you talk about not being able to see any trace of humanity around you, it's a very special feeling, as the caller, got there, and that's why people come here.
Thank you for that. And we have an email from someone specifying that Niagara-on-the-Lake is the wonderful town with much charm. Yes, that is what I was talking about there. Thank you so much. And a post on TikTok from Quiet Storm, also specifying the Canadian side of Niagara Falls is very nice. That is why it draws so many visitors. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for that. And thank you as well, Cody, again. What a great description. Bert in Kelowna, what's your favorite Canadian travel destination?
Well, there's several. And one of the best trips that we ever made was fly from Kelowna to Montreal, and then drive to Ottawa for Canada Day, and then drive back to Montreal for the end of the Montreal Jazz Festival, and then drive to Quebec City for the beginning of the Quebec Music Festival.
Oh my gosh.
And then drive back to
Kelowna, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, Bert, we're losing you now, but I have a note here that you then would drive back to Kelowna all within a week. You've done this 4 times. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That sounds like a fantastic itinerary. I am doing just about that next week, in fact. Ottawa for Canada Day and then over to Montreal for the Jazz Fest. You've made me really look forward to it. Thanks for the call from Kelowna. Let's go through some emails here, but I'm going to ask you as well, Robin, as we wrap up. You know, you're on your bike. We heard from someone talking about Via Rail. What is your favorite way to travel across the country?
This is a country that's just made for road tripping.
Yeah.
I love the train, absolutely. The 4-day, the Canadian, the train that goes from Vancouver to Toronto or vice versa is just an incredible way to see the country. The roads that we have really inspire discovery. You know, just following your nose, turning off when you see an interesting sign, stopping at visitor centers, which are excellent in BC, especially, to ask for advice. You know, what's interesting? What can I get up to? And yeah, as you drive across the country, it's just there's so much to discover. But just last week, I was in Ottawa. I took a houseboat down the Rideau Canal. Houseboating, you can rent a houseboat to go down the Rideau Canal, which was spectacular, absolutely beautiful. So whether you're on a boat or a train or a bike or a car, there's just amazing things to do all along the way.
That's very true. We have an email here from Janet who writes about a trip back in 2008. My friend and I drove up to the Yukon and camped on the way. Also stayed in Dawson Creek, and it was awesome. The Yukon was so welcoming for road travelers, and that they have very nice rest areas and washrooms as well. Yes, those amenities, so important. Thank you so much. And is there another destination that you haven't gone yet to, Robin, that is on your bucket list?
In Canada, it's kind of like a game of whack-a-mole. This thing, you tick three things off at the top, and 5 more come up at the bottom. So I'd love to explore some more in the north. In Nunavut, Inuvik is a great little town, really interesting in the Northwest Territories. I'd love to just get up to the Arctic and spend some more time there. New Brunswick I love New Brunswick. I find it to be really quirky and underrated, and lots of cool stuff that sits under the radar. Every year I kind of come up with a different idea. I kind of put out feelers like, what is there to do that I've never done before, and that not only belongs on a Canadian bucket list, but a global bucket list, and income that just like today on the calls, everybody's got these spaces and these places. You can't help but get inspired.
Well, happy travels to you as always. Thanks so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Travel safe. Have a wonderful
Happy Canada Day to you. That's Robin Esrock, travel author of the Bucket List books.